Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Strategies with Danette Moss. And joining me here today in studio is the beautiful Lauren Ballard. Oh, she is the owner and founder of Hilltown Advisors. And boy, do we have a juicy topic to talk about today. And it's all about navigating our year end financial planning. We are going to be looking at or learning from Lauren some of these. She's going to give us some insights for our taxes and our accounting here in this last quarter. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate you for joining us here today in studio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. You know, this topic is one of those topics, Lauren, that's something we really don't like to
I know.
dive into this year end stuff here and being prepared. But having you here on Let's Talk Strategies is a true honor because for me, my whole goal for Let's Talk Strategies is to give female CEOs, whether they're consultants, service providers, heck, your loved ones can look at this show. My whole goal is to make sure that you are equipped with the things that you need in business and for your life because I don't believe we can separate it.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to announce. You've already announced the name, but changing the name of the business. And part of the reason why we changed it is because the goal of Hilltown Advisors is to give our clients a higher vantage point to look at the way that they do business. And so I'm really passionate about helping female and male CEOs really get a handle on their financial situation and help them to start making intelligent decisions about how they run and operate their business.
Gotcha. And that's important, I'm sure, because we generally we're not driven by data as we should be as business owners. I'm guilty of that, and I'm learning more and more the importance of it. Not just data on how it can be found social media wise and all of that, but the money.
Exactly.
We're in business to make a profit, right?
Exactly.
And having clarity on our profit and loss and all these other key things that you've taught me as my CPA, is extremely important. So let's get right in and let's talk about the importance of navigating through this, especially since we're down to the end and the key things or what are the indicators of the things we need to be focused on.
So there's three things that I think you should be focused on over the next couple months. Normally what's going to happen is that people are going to start thinking about their taxes in January. Mm-hmm. They're going to start thinking about them in February. If you know that you're going to owe money, you're going to start thinking about it in March. But this is the time now to start thinking about your tax burden. And so the conversations that I'm having with my clients in October is, all right, let's look at what you've done for the past 9 months of the year in terms of income, revenue. Okay. What can we do for the next 3 months to position you to be as tax efficient as possible? Mm-hmm. And what happens a lot of times with business owners and their accountants, they're not having those crucial conversations until December when they're getting a projection of how much their tax bill is, but you really have no room to make any decisions. But if I have the conversation with you early October, then I can tell you, all right, this is where we're at. And obviously you would have been getting financial statements anyway, but you have enough time if you want to take advantage of depreciation. So we hear all the time on social media about buy a truck, buy an Escalade, buy a G-Wagon. But part of the reason why people are doing that, right, is because they can get the tax deduction. And if depending on your cash flow situation, okay, you may not be able to make that decision in December. But if I tell you in October, hey, this is where we're at, this is what I think you can do in terms of tax savings, then you can now position yourself. And if you make the purchase December 31st, it is a tax write-off. So if I got to wait till the last day of the year, but I've been saving my money for the past 2.5 months to be positioned to make that purchase, then it's worth it.
You kind of spoke to something on projections.
Sure.
Quite often, we don't know what to really truly project. How often should one sit down with their tax consultant or someone to get clarity on different things? I mean, because we just think about taxes, the things we need to get in, like you said, we hear a lot from social media and we can get burned taking advice from social media and not speaking directly to an expert. So when I think about projections or more or less understanding the things that one should look for, to best prepare is the thing that I think I still quite often get a little I'm a little unsure about. Any tips on that?
Yeah. So one of the things that is important to us at Hilltown Advisors is that we are focusing heavily on the next year, year and a half, curating a client experience that is exceptional. Because what happens in the marketplace a lot of times is that, like I said, a business owner isn't talking to their accountant until it's too late for them to
Yes.
make a decision. They decided they wanted to buy a business. I've heard this. Somebody bought a business and then talked to their accountant after the fact
Oof.
and didn't really understand what all was entailed. And they made some poor financial decisions because they didn't have a trusted advisor. They kind of went on gut as opposed to looking at it from a feel, but also what are the numbers saying? Is this a viable business? So in theory, the best case scenario is that you're talking to your accountant every single month.
Okay.
But what's probably more realistic is at least once a quarter or twice a year. If we have a mid-year check-in where your accountant is saying, okay, this is where you're at.
Mhm.
This is some things to consider for the remainder of the year. At least that gives you some type of waymark. But if you do not talk to your accountant except when you need something, I'm applying for a loan. Can you help me with this? Can you file my taxes?
Yeah.
Then the relationship becomes like an urgent care versus getting PT, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you're going to somebody consistently to really see improvement.
I love that. I love the analogy of how you broke that down, because we tend to get into that panic mode,
Yeah.
Not knowing which way to go, how we should do it. And then we make our problem your problem.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what you all deal with when it comes to the tax season and just in general. When I think strategically about this thing though, and I look at the key things that I need to be focused on a quarterly basis, what type of insight would you give us? We know this is the last quarter, but we got 4 quarters. What should a business owner be doing each quarter? Kind of somewhat, is it the same thing? Should we be balancing certain things out? I mean, I kind of get all over the place because I'm not quite sure, what it is I should be doing. Should the actual owner of the business have her hands on her financials, or should she have someone else doing these different things? What's your thought process on that?
So that's 2 questions, right? So the first thing is, what do we need to do every single quarter? Every single quarter, we need to make sure that we're compliant with our taxes, that we're caught up on our financials. So any bookkeeping that needs to be done, we should be solid there, right? And then what we should be doing in the last quarter of the year is let's start planning our budget for next year. And so in theory, if you did your budget last year, then every single quarter you should be looking at budget versus actual. So where am I spending too much? I said I was going to do this, but what happened? Because a lot of times we don't hold ourselves accountable.
Yes.
And so we just spend. And we're not operating our business like a business. We're operating it like a job. And when we get paid, when the business gets paid, I get paid. But if I'm talking about building a business for scale, for growth, for selling, for succession planning, for legacy, whatever my goal is, then I need to be more intentional about the check-ins that I'm doing.
Gotcha.
So that's the first piece, right? So we need to make sure that we're looking at that. And then what are the things that you should be looking at when you're doing those things, right? So you're, like I said, you want to make sure that you are current with payroll taxes, you're current with sales taxes. You want to make sure that you're current with vendors. If you have accounts receivable, so people who owe you money, have we checked in? Where are we? When are you going to pay me? Start sending out those gentle nudges so that we can make sure that we're staying on the up and up.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. You said something that kind of hit home, staying on top of those, making sure you're on top of your payroll taxes. That was a big thing for me when I took on my first employee. Like, oh my goodness, I actually have this. Wait a minute, Uncle Sam is looking at this tax wise. We don't really, some of us don't count the cost sometimes. We think it's just, oh, I have a business, but there's a lot that comes into play when it comes to that. Case in point, as I got into this journey and hired my first employee, the one thing that I battled with or struggled with is when invoices weren't being paid in a timely fashion, then that meant I had to pull financials from different directions. Okay. And sometimes, Lauren, it came from my personal pocket, my personal budget. Any advice on how one should do that? Because I do know that there's a rule against commingling
Mhm.
and paying and doing different things out of that. And since I have you, I've made those necessary corrections. But any advice on that? Because it gets kind of hard sometimes, especially for our solopreneurs or people that depend on invoices to come in.
Sure. So there's two ways that you can handle that. You should either write on, and you can work with your bookkeeper or accountant to get this established, but establish essentially like a line of credit from yourself to the business and document that properly. But the business needs to be paying you back, right? So there needs to be like a clear paper trail that this was a loan, this was not a donation.
Gotcha.
And when it comes to donations for a business, it's not considered a donation, it's an investment, right? So then that should be reflected on your balance sheet. So that is one of the statements that you should be getting monthly.
Okay.
And it just tells you how much is your business worth on paper. So how much do I have in my bank account? How much do I owe? How much have I invested?
Okay.
Right. And so that starts to tell you kind of where are you at with your business. And so the other way that you would record that is as an owner's investment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I know that you've made some changes here in your business structure and the direction you're going in. Tell us a bit about Hilltown Advisors. What's next for you, and what we can expect uh, in the upcoming year? Because I know you're doing a lot of different things, and you do a lot of educating, a lot of not just females. I have to say that people in business. And what's next for you?
Yeah. So what's next for us is that we've taken on the huge challenge of we want to serve by the end of 2024, 1,000 business owners in the greater Atlanta area. So that's going to be through education. They'll either be clients or coming to one of our upcoming conferences. So really excited about just serving, adding value to the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the greater Atlanta area. And from there, we're going to just continue to grow, build our team. We're always looking for awesome talent to join the team. And so, yeah, we'll just be expanding.
Well, I'm always excited to have you here on Let's Talk Strategies with Danette Moss, because the information that you provide is information that I consider is truly priceless. You know, we're owning and operating a business. So there's some fundamental steps that I believe one should have in place to be able to truly say, I have a business, and that it's not a hobby. And I just, believe that anytime we get up and we pick up that phone and we go to make a transaction, that we need to have clarity on the things that we're doing, because it's real easy. It's right there in our hands. So we're, spending money, doing all kind of different things, but we need to count the cost. And to have clarity and understanding on what it is we're spending on, or making sure that we remind ourselves of our budget. These things are key. Hence the reason I'm making sure that you come back as much as possible here on Let's Talk Strategies to share, to give us a checkup from the neck up, because it's extremely important. It really is.
And so one last thing that I'd love to say before we close out is part of the reason why people commingle is because they've made the jump too early. You have not made proper preparation to be able to give your business room to breathe. Like, we have to think of our business like a infant, and it needs certain things to grow. And one of the things that our businesses need is revenue, income. And that money that's coming in is going to be able to help the business grow. It's going to be able for us to get the proper talent. It's going to be able for us to do the branding, to do the marketing. And so we've got to be very, very mindful and very careful to make sure that we have something in the business so it can continue to do what we envision it doing.
Ooh, you just kind of stepped on several people's toes, because, we go into business because people say you should get into business, or I quit my 9-to-5 and now I'm in business. Let's go, I'm making the money, or let's go, I'm not making the money. And I find that probably maybe 75% or maybe more people start out with no money, truly on a shoestring budget. I was one of those. I didn't have the knowledge, and the understanding or clarity on the best way to do it. So I appreciate you for for sharing that with us and giving us a checkup from the neck up, Lauren.
Of course.
Well, I want to welcome all of you all to the Let's Talk Strategy show here. We air here every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern. Again, I believe is the best time zone to live in. And we are easily found over on the Limelight TV network and E360 TV, and of course over on YouTube at Let's Talk Strategies. I truly appreciate you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule to learn and get a bit of knowledge on the topics such as, this quarter ending and what we're speaking about here with Lauren Ballard over at Hilltown Advisors. Make sure you join us here. We promise to give you the tools that you need to take not only your business, but your life to the next level. This is Danette Moss, Business Systems and Implementation Strategist, aka the Strategy Lady. Until next time. Are you feeling overwhelmed in your business, struggling to find the right balance? Try Digital CEO Systems, the all-in-one business management, sales, and marketing platform. With Digital CEO Systems, you can streamline your business, automate your processes, and achieve sustainable growth. Ready to take control of your business? Sign up now for our 14-day trial and experience the power of Digital CEO Systems. Don't let overwhelm hold you back. Transform your business today with Digital CEO Systems.